Okay, we got a Tecumseh Powersports engine off a Go Kart. We're going to rebuild the carburetor. I've already removed it. I have it all off. Let's go rebuild it. Okay, a little tip. Anytime you have a linkage with the carburetor, and there's the Tecumsehs are notorious for having numerous holes, they always scratch a line pointing to where I pulled the little linkage thing out of. First things first, let's grab my safety glasses because I'm going to use carburetor cleaner. Let's spray off the outside of the carburetor. I'm putting my fingers over the inlet and outlet of the carburetor so I don't push the dirt right back inside. This one's off a Go Kart. There's no actual choke on it built. There's not a choke or anything built on. I actually rely on just the primer bulb to give it enough gas to start. And generally you're running Go Karts and stuff in warmer weather. The throttle plate you can see is stuck. Doesn't want to move. So we'll just have to break that free. Go Kart hasn't been ridden in years. Loosen it up a little bit. Spray a little bit in there. Should move. There you go. Now the spring is working, springing it back. Problem is gas just sits down on the bottom of the carburetor and sits and gums up the bottom of the throttle plate and just makes it stick. Usually it makes it stick open. If you can get the engine to pop, it won't stay running. Remove the bowl nut, which is also your main jet. And that inevitably always gets gummed up, and as you can see, it's gummed up with some nice green gas. The bowl is nice and stuck on. The bowl actually isn't too bad. The gasket is nice and gummy. Usually it stays on the carburetor, comes right out, but it's welded itself to it. Spray out the bowl. Wipe it out. I'm going to reuse my bowl gasket, so I'm actually not going to rip it off of there. Most of the time it comes out and it's just fine. But if I rip it out, I stand a chance of actually tearing it. And you need it to seal, because what it does is when you push on here, it actually fills the bowl up with a little bit of air, and then it forces gas up into the engine. So if you got a bad seal on here, it won't actually prime the engine. Okay, we're going to pull off the float. Pull the needle right out. Pull it. Some models, especially with go-karts and stuff, have a little spring right here that just actually helps close the float. Helps make it a little bit lighter. Advantageous in engines that receive a lot of vibration, like a go-kart. Pull the pin out. pull the float out along with the needle. Make sure there's no gas floating. If there was fuel or anything in the bottom of your bowl, make sure that the float's not full of gas. Make sure it's not crushed, which is usually, if it's crushed, usually it's a sign that water was in the bowl and it froze, crushing it. Looks pretty clean actually. Spray it all out. Spray through your fuel inlet. Back and forth. Spray up through your main venturi, which is a little red plastic thing down in there, and you can see it through the body of the carburetor too. Some of them are yellow, some are red. I've actually even seen blue. Just make sure it sprays up. Now we're gonna spray out the idle mixture screw. They cap it right here because it's not adjustable, so you just got to rip off the cap, and then it's just a flathead screw right in there, and just screw it out. And in that you'll see there's a center hole and two little side holes. Those need to be nice and clean. Spray through them. If it doesn't spray, I like to take a piece of copper wire that I pull out of, I just cut a section of copper wire, pull out one of the strands, and then you can actually physically poke that through if it doesn't spray through, to clear out any holes. This one actually sprayed through nice, so that's clean. And then the hole that we pulled it out of, you want to spray through it, and at the same time there's a little Welch plug right here, and on the inside of the carburetor there's actually usually 3 holes. So when you spray through here, pull in and out, and you should see gas spraying up into the carburetor. And I do, right there. So I know the passage from here up to there is clear. Actually spray through your front passage. There's one down at the bottom, right down in there. And that's spraying out the bottom of the carburetor. And there's one up at the top. And that's actually just filling up this little primer bulb. And this is just for the PVC valve, PVC vent, PCV. This one had no rust in it. I'm just dissolving the gummed up gas. The number one reason why a Tecumseh carburetor won't start is because the main jet is clogged, which is this bowl nut. So sometimes you can just take that right off and clean that without taking the whole carburetor apart, and spray some cleaner through that. Make sure the holes are all opened up and it'll run again, and that the throttle plate sticks, either open or closed.